Coming up next on Time for Living, sexuality in your older years. Is the best yet to come?
Having a hard time remembering things? No need to worry. No one's memory is as sharp as it used to be.
And our second effort salute goes to an artist from Kingston. Find out why. All this and a whole lot more coming up next on Time for Living. Janet Jagalian.
And I'm Rex Traylor. Welcome to Time for Living.
I don't know about you, Rex, but many people have been stopping me over the last couple of weeks saying they've been watching this show and they really like it.
Well, that doesn't really surprise me because for years many television shows have ignored the needs of people over the age of 50, and that's why we've created Time for Living.
And that's right. We hope that the stories and the features we bring you on Time for Living will help you stay young.
Remember, age is a state of mind. With the right attitude and a bit of planning, your later years can truly be the best years of your life.
Well, today we're discussing a very sensitive topic, but one that's important to older Americans. We're talking about sexuality and aging. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean your love life must come to an end. To the contrary, with your kids now grown and more time on your hands, you can enjoy a rich and satisfying love life. Time for Living Steve Brown tells us love is in the air for older Americans.
It's an age-old myth. Once you reach a certain age, you no longer have an interest in sexual relations. While some people are content to be sexually inactive, the fact that you are older does not mean you need not have an enjoyable and satisfying love life.
I've been impressed by a few couples I've worked with where they started to have sex more often than they had when they were younger and with greater enjoyment because they were experimenting with more things. Okay, that.
Suki Hanfling is the founder and director of McLean Hospital's Human Sexuality program. She has helped many couples revive and improve their love lives.
Couples find sometimes that, especially if they had a problem with premature ejaculation or where the woman was afraid of getting pregnant and therefore, may not have let herself be as aroused, that sometimes they can have more pleasure, especially if they're taking more time. More time usually means more relaxation, which means more pleasure and more intensity potentially.
Occasionally, problems crop up in later years which can, if not addressed, make sexual relations difficult or even unpleasurable. Tops on that list, impotence.
I think a lot of people just assume that difficulties with erections are a consequence of aging, and that's not true, because there are plenty of octogenarians who have very active sex lives. So we need to get over this belief that this is something that's just a byproduct of aging.
Doctors have found that more than 50% of the cases of impotency are caused by a physical or organic problem that can usually be treated.
There are a lot of emotional and psychogenic reasons for primary impotency as well, but I think we have to assume and rule out any organic cause before we decide that it's purely an emotional or psychological problem.
Another problem when one partner is interested in sex while the other is not.
I think if one person cares and the other doesn't, and it's not always the man who cares, sometimes it's the woman, that can create some real tension between the couples. So they might hesitate to get help when if they got it quickly, it could keep them from a lot of pain.
One of the most important things couples can do, communicate.
As in all problems between couples, talking is the most important. So there's one little exercise that sometimes couples do where each of them write down the 10 things they like most about their lovemaking and sort of number them in order. Exchange lists. Then they might put down what they might be willing to do.
Some people, because of health reasons, may have to limit what they do in the bedroom, but that doesn't mean that all sex is off limits.
Don't forget, sex isn't just intercourse, so people can reach orgasm in other ways, and that's one of the things we work with people on. There's no specific age, but clearly there are illnesses that can make a difference. But one of the things that research found is that even in people who are dying, there can be a wish for that kind of connection and intimacy, and so that doctors should never make assumptions that people don't want to know what could help their sex lives.
I'm Steve Brown. Time for Living.
Joining us now on Time for Living is Dr. Jeff Steinberg. Dr. Steinberg is an on-staff urologist for the Deaconess and Faulkner Hospitals in Boston. And in just a few minutes, we'll be taking your phone calls. So you can pick up the phone, give us a call. Our phone number at Time for Living is 244-3344. Dr. Steinberg, this is a very sensitive subject. People, most of the time, are embarrassed about even talking about sex. Isn't that true?
They are, Rex, and it's oftentimes a very difficult problem to talk about with a loved one or even the primary care doctor. So I think it's very important that that a primary care provider, nurse practitioner, somebody that the patient regularly interacts with, specifically ask the patient if things are okay in that department, because oftentimes they won't volunteer that information.
Well, particularly with older Americans, we're talking about that, and a lot of their sons and daughters don't even think about it or don't even want to think about their parents having sexual relations at an older age. It's kind of like the little kids, when they first find out about sex, say, my mother and father didn't do that.
That's right. And it's not typically discussed around the dinner table, but it is a fact of life, and it's a fact of life that goes on as people get older. And it's an important part of many people's lives, and they want to continue to have a healthy sexual relationship.
There is no time when it is not appropriate to have healthy sexual relationships. Is that true?
Absolutely. I think if you're otherwise healthy and there's no medical contraindications, then sexual relationships can go on and on. I have many 80-year-old patients and some in their 90s who continue to have very active and fulfilling sex lives.
Now, the type of person who would come to you to ask for advice or seek out some answer to their problem, could you tell me a little bit about that person?
Well, many of the patients will have underlying medical disorders as a cause for organic or physical problems in terms of getting erections and having sexual relations. Many of these are cardiac patients with heart problems. Many are diabetics. It's especially common in diabetic patients. Many times there is no easily identifiable physical abnormality, and it may be a problem between the couple, emotional, psychological, or stress-related problems. So it's really important to try to dissect the problem and to try to see what the underlying abnormality be, if it's physical or otherwise.
I think there's probably a great deal of anxiety that takes place if something doesn't function as it used to be.
That's entirely correct, and I think it's very important that we recognize it's not just a normal process of aging, because oftentimes this will occur due to other undiagnosed problems perhaps, and that it shouldn't just be accepted because somebody's getting older, that it can be looked into and treated with minimal therapy.
How would you say people should react to other people who think that older Americans shouldn't engage in any sort of sexual activity?
Well, I think that that's a little bit of an old-fashioned attitude. Human sexuality has been studied for forever, for centuries. And in the 90s, it's certainly a topic that is always in the media, everywhere you look. So I think it's to close your eyes to it and say just because somebody has passed a certain chronological age that's no longer an issue is sort of having a very narrow view of things. I think we just have to continue to be open in our approach to sexual relations in all ages.
Well, we've already had somebody call in. Jennifer in Waltham would like to ask you a question. You're on with Dr. Steinberg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Traylor, Dr. Steinberg.
Hello.
Let me first say, Mr. Traylor, I enjoy your program immensely. It is long overdue, and I hope it is on for a long time to come.
Well, thank you.
The topic you have chosen today, I believe, is of the utmost importance to all our seniors. My focus is on sexuality in nursing homes, since I have spent the last 25 years as a geriatric nurse. Having spent this time in the nursing home field, I believe that we don't lose our sexuality as we become older adults. I feel no matter what the age of an individual, their sexuality is part of the total person. Most residents I have encountered over the years express their sexuality with hand-holding, a peck on the cheek, a hand on the knee. I guess I have two questions. First, should a situation arise in a nursing home community other than the hand-holding, how should the staff deal with it? Should the staff encourage it? Should the staff provide quiet time in a private area? Should in-service be given to staff to ensure the rights of privacy are upheld, since I feel this is part of the residents' rights, as long as both are mentally capable of making such a decision? And my second question is, how best do we serve the needs of a spouse who has had to admit his or her partner to a nursing home, and this couple has had a long, loving, caring, sexual relationship? How do you assist and support the remaining spouse with his or her loss and grief by not having that person back home anymore?
Well, you have quite a few questions there, Jennifer. Thanks very much. Dr. Steinberg?
Well, I think those are very provocative questions, Jennifer, and I think that's something that's really overlooked by the medical community and people in nursing home environments. So I'm glad that you've brought that up today. I think it's important not to suppress any advances towards sexual relations between two consenting adults as long as there are no medical problems that may intervene. I think it's important that the nursing home staff and the physicians approach this openly and honestly with the people who are interested in sexual relations, and I think that some private time should be provided to those people. I think the second part of your question is also very pertinent, because many times when one partner in a relationship is admitted to a nursing home, that doesn't mean that the sexual relationship has to stop there. Many nursing homes and other long-term facilities will supply private time and private space so that sexual relations can be carried on. I don't feel that that's a part of life that should just go away for those patients because they happen to have a different living environment. I think it's very important for us as medical professionals to have an open, very caring attitude in this respect, and not to just treat the patient according to what the disease problem list is, but to recognize that the sexual identity of the patient goes on even when they're in a nursing home or long-term care facility.
Those were very good questions, Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Steinberg, when it comes to the anxiety that takes place, what is it usually caused by?
Well, I think a lot of it is performance related. Perhaps one partner in a relationship has difficulty on one occasion, and oftentimes this is due to outside stress that intervenes during the sexual relations. And then I think it just becomes a snowball effect many times, where there's a fear of performing appropriately. And a lot of this can really be circumvented by an open, honest dialogue between the two partners in the relationship. I think that if you have fears that you're going to have problems in the future, those fears oftentimes are borne out, unfortunately. But an open, honest dialogue between the two partners, and perhaps this may need some facilitation by a psychologist or counselor or sex therapist, is absolutely appropriate.
But if the two people involved choose not to, that they feel that is not an important part of their relationship at that time, they shouldn't feel badly about that, should
Absolutely. They? That's an individual choice. There are different preferences for different people. So I think that nobody should be pressured into the situation where they need to continue sexual relations. I think that's very important in terms of, again, two people talking with an open fashion and an open dialogue to arrive at an agreement. And that changes depending on what their life situation is.
You know, what's really amazing is that we're all human beings. We're all built with basically the same parts, male and female. But so many people are so shy about talking about things like this that there has to be a little more open expression, because let's face it, in the everyday lives, in advertising and television and movies, sex is right in your face.
Absolutely.
And so people feel that if they're not part of that, that there's something wrong with them. Is there?
No, I think that that the media and TV, radio, newsprint, and commercials especially, present sex in a way that it doesn't happen. Sexual relationships don't happen like it does on your typical soap opera or sitcom. I think that reality is a lot more interesting and provocative, so there's no ideal status that should try to be lived up to. I think that an individual relationship is just tailor-made for that individual couple.
Thank you, Dr. Steinberg. After this break, we'll be taking your calls for Dr. Jeff Steinberg. If you have a question about sexuality and aging, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Our number is right on your screen, 617-244-3344. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Time for Living. Dr. Jeff Steinberg, a urologist from Deaconess and Faulkner Hospitals, joins me in the studio. We've been discussing what some consider a very sensitive topic, sexuality and aging. So if you have a question or an experience you'd like to relate to us, a positive experience, now would be a good time to pick up the phone and call our number, which is 244-3344. Now, you know, talking about being shy, I guess some of the folks are shy. We had that one wonderful call at the beginning, and then all of a sudden people feel hesitating about calling on a sensitive subject like this. But in the meantime, make that call. Come on, join us in this experience, because it's something that is very, very important to talk about. And this is a two-way conversation. It's interactive television, and we want you to be part of it because this is your show. Dr. Steinberg, there are two different things. Now, you're a urologist, so you deal with the plumbing.
That's essentially correct.
Okay. And so Dr. Suki
Hanfling, yes.
Hanfling, yeah. She deals with the psychological factors
Right.
involved. When is it appropriate to know which way to go?
Well, I think that initially, if there is a perceived problem by the couple, that they should talk to their primary care doctor first. The primary care doctor has an extensive database on the patients and will know whether this is more likely to be a medically related problem, such as diabetes or high blood pressure or hardening of the arteries, if you will, or whether this is a situation that has no underlying risk factors and perhaps ought to be evaluated first by a psychologist or a sex therapist.
Okay, so that would come into play, a sex therapist would come into play, or a counselor, sex counselor would be if one of the couple just didn't feel like it and wasn't really tuned into that, and the other one was wanting to be sexually active.
Certainly there are differences in libido or sex drive. Now that may be emotional or psychological, or that may be medically related due to low hormonal levels. So I think it's easy to detect that with just a simple blood test, whether that is hormonally related. But I think it's very important for the primary care doctor who has the best feel of the individual to get an idea whether this is purely a problem with the male partner each time, or perhaps with the female partner, or a combination of both partners' interaction with each other. We primarily see, obviously, male sexual dysfunction, and most of the patients we see have medically related problems which are often very treatable in a very simple fashion. And I think part of the problem is that when people come in to see a urologist, they immediately expect that they're going to have surgery or some very invasive procedure in order to correct problems, specifically in attaining and maintaining an erection.
So there is hope for somebody, and they shouldn't think once they can't maintain an erection that it's all over.
Absolutely.
Because that happens to younger people as well.
Oh, I have I have numerous younger folks, chronologically younger, who have problems, and some of them are medically related, some are emotionally related, but there are treatment avenues for any patient age category. Absolutely.
That's good news. Okay, Kathy from Cambridge is on the line. Hi, Kathy. Welcome to Time for Living. This is Dr. Steinberg we're talking to.
Hello, thank you.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I have a question. As an adult child of older parents, I wanted to know how to handle physical affection, the showing of physical affection by my parents, particularly in front of grandchildren, or say when we're away on vacation and we have our friends visiting us and such. Sometimes it may be a little bit uncomfortable, and I wanted to know, certainly because I love my parents and I want them to let people know that they love each other, but how can I handle the feelings around that?
Well, I think that's a very complex topic. I think that it's wonderful that grandparents still show affection towards each other, especially in front of their grandchildren, to let them know it's not abnormal just because they're getting older that they stop showing loving relationship. So I think that it's entirely appropriate, obviously, to a point. If you think things are becoming inappropriate in terms of how they demonstrate their continued interest in each other, then I think that it's absolutely appropriate for you to have a frank and open discussion, with your parents about how they're displaying their emotions. But I think it's wonderful that if they kiss in public, hold hands in public, especially in front of your grandchildren, I think it's just a wonderful display that they still have love for each other, and they care about each other, and they're interested in each other.
Yes, certainly I agree. I guess it's just my own feeling of perhaps embarrassment, almost like going back to teenagers, they don't want to be seen with their parents somehow, but
right.
It becomes...
I think it's always difficult to think about our parents in a sexual way, but it's important to remember that sexual relations do go on even when we grow up and become adults, that our parents don't lose their natural instincts and appetites for sexual relations. And it's important to realize that, and also to talk about it openly and honestly with your parents if you have concerns about how they're demonstrating their desires.
Kathy, when you were growing up, did your parents display affection when you were around?
Actually, not as much as I seem to notice now. They seem to feel more comfortable now with their sexuality in front of us than they did when we were growing up, which is why I guess I feel that it's kind of a change and I'm not used to it.
Well, that's a very important part, because isn't it amazing? I talk to a variety of people, who will say, affection was never displayed in front of us when we were growing up as kids. And I think that's a very important thing, to know what love is and to have kids exposed to the good part of relationship, a good, warm, loving relationship.
Absolutely, Rex. And I think that as we approach different stages in our lives, perhaps when parents retire, the stresses of day-to-day life tend to be a little bit lessened, of making a living every day, and they can focus more attention on each other. Some of that will be expressed in sexual ways. So I think that's sort of a natural process of us going on to our next stage in life, and different people express them in different ways. So I think it's an absolutely natural portion of aging, and I don't think that should be suppressed as long as the public display is appropriate.
Right.
Kathy, thank you very much for your call, and we certainly appreciate your calling in. That's interactive television, and Time for Living wants you to be part of this, so thank you for joining us. And we have Mary from Quincy on the phone. Mary from Quincy would like to talk to Dr. Steinberg.
Great.
Oh, yes, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the last caller. One of my childhood memories was my parents kissing in the kitchen, and when my mother saw me standing there, pushed my father away. And they've since divorced, and my father has found a lovely, affectionate woman, but something like that could really scar a child. And I think we need to foster feelings for people. Let them show affection for one another and not always have to hide, because that's the basic of human response. And why shouldn't a child see the love between parents?
I agree totally. I think our parents are our greatest teachers. We learn by example, certainly. And I think that if sexual interaction is suppressed when children are growing up, they may have a bit of a stressed attitude about it and perhaps an abnormal approach to what a sexual relationship should be. So I think it's important that parents who have young children try to arrive at an appropriate display of affection in front of their children. I don't think it should either be too vigorous of a display, nor should it be totally suppressed. But I think that most mature adults are able to determine a comfortable level of displaying their sexuality in front of their children, because their children are going to take away a lesson from this, and that's how they're going to behave as adults when they eventually have their own children.
Right. I just hate to think of someone in their 50s or 60s viewing their parents as if, I'm a teenager and my parents shouldn't be doing that. I'm embarrassed. I think we should all try to be mature and let them have the affection that they feel, because not too many people feel it.
Mary, you said that that experience scarred you somewhat. Tell us about that.
It could have scarred me. I just think that my initial feeling was, what did he do wrong that he should be pushed away?
Exactly.
And all they were doing was kissing.
Are you married, Mary?
Yes.
Okay, do you have children?
No, I don't, but I have a very large family.
Oh, I see.
Other than that, yeah.
Okay, well, Mary, thank you very much for your call.
Thank you, and good luck with your show.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think it's exactly shows like this that are important to bring to the forefront, put out in the public media, that discussion about sexuality and other issues that used to be closet issues for many segments of our population are now should be openly discussed, and people should know about them so they can receive attention if they wish.
The idea that I would like to express right now is that communication is the thing.
Absolutely.
If people communicate, things can be a whole lot better. And your ability to communicate with our Time for Living audience is much appreciated,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Steinberg. You're absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much.
It was great. I hope you can join us again on the show.
I'd be glad to.
Do you ever forget a phone number, one you've been dialing for years? Do you hunt around the house to find your car keys? Well, you're not alone, and in most cases, it's perfectly normal. In today's Newsbreak segment, Time for Living, Steve Brown tells us that as we age, our memories age as well.
I'm Larry.
The good news is, the more you complain about your memory being bad, the less likely your memory really is bad.
If you think you're forgetting things, you have to remember what you've forgotten. So that people who really have terrible memories don't remember that they've forgotten and think that their memory's okay.
A bit confusing, but as we get older, it's quite normal to have some memory loss.
What we think may be going on is that in a deep part of the brain that helps control the locking into memory, it's wearing down a bit and not being as efficient.
Other things can affect your memory, including anxiety, a lack of sleep, overworking, and even retirement.
Why? Because people go from a structured life, they have to do things at a certain time and they really have to do them, to now having much more free time and they don't have to do anything.
One way to improve your memory is to pay attention. That's the key to registering information and locking it in permanently.
As people get older, their brains don't work as quickly, their minds don't work as quickly, so it takes them longer to get things in, which means things rush by and they can't be remembered as easily.
There are more serious causes for memory loss, such as Alzheimer's disease. Experts say that families can be the best judge if there is a problem. If there is, get it checked right away. I'm Steve Brown. Time for Living.
I'm going to see if that Coke was hot enough. But...
Three, 4, 5. We're back and ready to roll. Rock and roll.
Welcome back to Time for Living. It's time for our Health, Finance, and More segment, a weekly feature here on Time for Living.
Every week we bring in an expert on a different topic. These experts provide you with tips, professional advice, and other information to help you make better choices and more informed decisions.
You know, it's not a bad idea to keep a pencil and paper handy for this feature. I'm sure you'll want to take some notes. The information we pass along can be quite helpful.
In today's Health, Finance, and More segment, we continue our look at memory loss. Dr. William Milberg, Associate Director of Research for the Geriatric Research, Education, and Clinical Center of the Brockton West Roxbury VA Medical Center, focuses on the various ways to increase cognitive longevity and what research results show when it comes to predicting cognitive change.
Much of the medical news we hear focuses on breakthroughs that can help maintain physical health. But many people are also concerned with maintaining their mental or cognitive abilities as well. Some diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease, that cause deficits in memory and intellectual ability with increasing likelihood as we age, are still not easy to predict or control. Alzheimer's disease, however, is not the only cause of decreases in mental ability with age. Some people seem to show greater cognitive longevity than others. A recent collaborative study by researchers at Harvard Medical School and several other major medical schools and universities examined the characteristics that were predictive of cognitive longevity in nearly 1,200 healthy adults between the ages of 70 and 79. The subjects in this study were given an extensive battery of medical and cognitive tests over a 2.5-year period. The results may surprise you. The best predictors of cognitive change were education, pulmonary peak expiratory flow rate, which is a measure of maximum lung capacity, their participation in strenuous daily activities such as housework and gardening, their sense of self-efficacy, which is the degree to which one feels that one's actions make a difference in relationships, finances, and one's daily lifestyle. The researchers felt that each of these predictors measured behaviors and activities that were to some extent under the subject's control or changeable through medical or psychological intervention, or even through education. For example, lung capacity was related to smoking, a habit that should be eliminated for many other health reasons. Participation in daily strenuous activities or exercise makes good sense for general health and can be chosen by most healthy adults with the consent of their physician, of course. It is likely that people with a greater sense of self-efficacy are simply more willing to try to change their behavior for the better. At this point, it's not clear whether one's sense of self-efficacy can be changed, but maintaining a positive outlook and participating in family and community activities whenever possible are likely to be related to one's sense of self-efficacy. The biggest mystery in this study is why education level predicts cognitive longevity so well. People with more education may simply have greater access to information about maintaining a healthy lifestyle and may be more likely to follow this information. It is also possible that higher education may reflect some natural ability to maintain one's intellectual function. It will be some time before these issues are resolved. In the meantime, following your doctor's recommendation for general health seems to also have the benefit of helping cognitive health or longevity. I'm Dr. Bill Milberg, Time for Living.
Now, if you'd like more information, you can write to Dr. Milberg, care of Health, Finance, and More segment, Time for Living, P.O. Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701. Or you can call and leave us a message on our voicemail at 1-800-232-7213. And you can send us a fax. That number is 617-329-1774. Don't worry if you missed our address and phone numbers. We'll be repeating them in just a few minutes.
Coming up next on Time for Living, our Traveling Around segment. We'll be taking you to the museums of Great Britain, so don't go away.
So far on Time for Living, we've taken you skiing on Mount Wachusett, to the Winter Carnival in Quebec, and to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And it hasn't cost you a penny.
You know, many older Americans love to travel. we're making it a point to find out about places where older folks are not only welcomed, but encouraged to go.
One of those places is Great Britain. When you think of Britain, what comes to mind? Buckingham Palace, Big Ben and Westminster, the Tower of London. No visit to the United Kingdom is complete without a stop at those popular tourist attractions. But there are some other places in Britain you might want to check out. In today's Traveling Around segment, we take you to some of Britain's museums. There are no shortages of museums in Great Britain. More than 2,500 museums and galleries at last count, with new ones opening all the time. Plenty of company at Britain's great art galleries. Places like the Tate Gallery in London have long been magnets for tourists. More than 19 million foreign visitors spent over $13 billion in Britain in 1994 alone. Places like the Tate are on the main tourist circuit. Yet rural museums have a different but equally important market.
46, 8, 6 to 48, 9, 6 to 50.
This folk museum in Northern Ireland gives visitors a chance to gain a different insight into history by living it. Traveling with grandchildren? You may want to visit the Eureka Children's Museum in Yorkshire. Since opening in the early 1990s, it has attracted crowds of youngsters both in school groups or with parents, grandparents, and friends. Places like Eureka are valuable in giving them a taste for knowledge that could very well continue into maturity.
I think it's so important that they first of all have that feeling of achievement and satisfaction. And I hope when they go out, they're asking even more questions than they were when they came in. So the world outside that they go to looks more interesting and more exciting than it was when they came here.
This is the Natural History Museum in London, and these bones are from a creature that swam in the ocean more than a century ago. The blue whale is the largest mammal the world has ever known and a big attraction at the museum since it arrived in 1860. More than 1 million people visit this museum every year, making it one of Britain's most popular. If you'd like more information on the museums of Britain, contact the British Consulate on 100 Atlantic Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts. Their phone number is 617-248-9555. And please let us know about your favorite travel destinations so we can tell others. Drop us a line at Traveling Around, care of Time for Living, P.O. Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts 01701. Or leave a message on our voicemail at 1-800-232-7213. And our fax line number is 617-329-1774.
Coming up next on Time for Living, we'll introduce you to artist Gobind Stare. Stay with us to find out why he's getting our second effort salute. are so many older Americans out there today doing incredible things.
We're always on the lookout for these people because they're the kind of folks we like to feature on our Second Effort Salute.
Recently, we told you about a woman who published her first book on poetry at the age of 96, and a tap dance group made up of women in their 60s and 70s.
And who says older people have nothing to offer? Certainly not us.
Well, today we'll introduce you to another remarkable individual. Goben Stair of Kingston is giving a lot to his town. What's his gift? Beautiful artwork. Mr. Stair was nominated as an Elderpreneur of the Year of 1995. Time for Living's Rod Fritz tells us there's more to Goben Stair's murals than just pictures.
Art isn't in Newbury Street, it's here.
If anyone knows art, it's Goben Stair. The 85-year-old Kingston, Massachusetts man has had a colorful career working as an artist in the publishing industry. But now that he's retired, he's creating murals for the entire community to enjoy and to appreciate.
One of the important things for an artist to decide is what life is all about. That's what religion is supposed to be doing, and that is deepening and intensifying what you mean and what you are and what your life is. And it's an adventure. And when you start to talk about a mission statement, which is what we were talking about here, you're talking about your community and what it means and why it's a community.
The mural dominates the Beale House Meeting Center at Kingston's Unitarian Universalist Church. It's designed with both young and old in mind and shows Mr. Stair's love of God and community.
And when you put that hand up in the air there, you know, that's the one God. And the Jewish experience, they developed this idea of one God in the time when everybody had many gods. And it's one God, one country, one belief began to be used by others as well, you see.
There's a bit of whimsy in the mural, too, nestled within the spiritual figures, Dennis the Menace.
And Dennis the Menace certainly stands for our appreciation of that energy those kids have, you know. And the picture of that is immediately grasped when you say spiritual, especially by kids. The kids make that kind of a switch very, very quickly.
This isn't Mr. Stair's first mural in the town. 3 years ago, he created a mural celebrating the alphabet, which is found at the town library. He has another one in the works as well. Mr. Stair enjoys his work and enjoys bringing art to his community.
To realize that I enjoy and they enjoy this work together. I'm making it for them, and they're getting it, and that completes it.
I'm Rod Fritz. Time for Living.
If you know of someone we should feature on Time for Living in our Second Effort Salute segment, and I'm sure you have a few people in mind right away, please let us know. Write to us at Second Effort Salute, care of Time for Living, P.O. Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701, or call us and you can leave a message on our voicemail, toll free at 1-800-232-7213. Our fax number, by the way, is 617-329-1774. We'll give you these numbers again in just a few minutes.
Up next on Time for Living, we've got some great listings of events that you might be interested in. So get your pen and paper ready. We'll be right back. thanks to everyone who has called or written to us here at Time for Living. It's really great to hear from you.
You know, we really enjoy hearing your comments and concerns, and we listen to your criticism as well.
And as we have mentioned before, this is a show that we want you to listen to and tell us about and tell us the issues that are important to you. We'll do our very best to please you.
We have some events to tell you about. We're sure that you might be interested in these events coming up. Certainly on Monday, February 26th from 2 to 3 in the afternoon, there will be a free lecture by Dr. Jonathan Applebaum, a geriatric specialist. Dr. Applebaum will be discussing memory changes and dementia. That will be given at the Fenway Community Health Center in Boston. For more information, call 617-267-0900.
And on Tuesday, a luncheon talk on fitness as you grow older will take place. Dr. Roger Fielding of Boston University will be giving us that talk. Again, that will be Tuesday at noontime at BU's Marsh Chapel. If you'd like more information about that talk, call 617-353-3560.
And in Winchester this Monday, February 26th from 1 to 3 p.m., there will be a senior health day at the Winchester Hospital Family Medical Center. Blood pressure screenings will be offered. And for more information, you can call 932-0843.
We'd like to read your announcement on the air. Send it to us at Time for Living, Post Office Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701.
When we return on Time for Living and look at what's coming up on next week's show. Thanks very much for joining us again this afternoon on Time for Living.
Rex and I will be back again next week at 3 right here on New England Cable News.
We hope you'll be able to join us because we'll have another interesting show. We'll be looking at how the state and the banking industry is trying to prevent older adults from falling victim to scam artists.
Also, our second effort salute, you'll meet Carolyn Burns, a woman who gave up a career in the classroom for a job as an engineer.
Plus our regular features, health, finance, and more, traveling around, and another check of our mailbag.
So until next week, remember,
it's Time for Living.
It certainly is.
But by the way,
yeah,
we want those folks to call and write us. This is their show.
That is absolutely true, and we certainly hope that you're going to do it and do it this week, because if you are anxious to have some event that you're involved with get on the air, we'd be happy to bring that to you. So please, by all means, feel as though this is your program and you have access to going out over the air, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Everybody has to join us right here on Time for Living and make sure that you make this interactive so that we hear from you and we will relay that information to you. Okay?
So we look forward to hearing from you or receiving your calls and letters right here at Time for Living. It's been fun being with you, and we hope that you feel it's as much fun joining us on a weekly basis.
See you
Bye-bye
next
now.
time.